This novel takes place in 5 different narrative sequences, and this one is set in London. Bloodhorn's last big screen extravaganza had been a take on Stanley Milgram's infamous obedience to authority experiments from the 1960s. These were designed to test how long someone, under instructions from a lab-coated scientist, would keep administering electric shocks to a test subject even after the subject had fallen unconscious. It was a classic interrogation room scenario to which Bloodhorn added a personal touch of electrodes applied to flagrantly exposed genitalia. In the film, the test subjects were members of an erotic circus, human freaks endowed with every known physical affliction, some which even tested the credulity of blood-horde diehards. In reality, these were all actors from Bloodhorn's regular stable. The suckers with their fingers on the electric buzzers were volunteers, white middle-class male predominantly, the clean-shaven type who answered newspaper wanted adverts for role-play in university psych experiments, thinking beneath their doughboy exteriors there are dark depths of psychic complexity even their mammies don't expect. They'd sit at a desk and push a button while, on the other side of a two-way mirror, a drooling eunuch strapped to a padded chair would writhe in simulated agony, smoke spiraling from an array of alligator clips. Doughboy would break into a sweat. "Gee, Doc, sure this is all right? I mean, it looks kind of painful." "You're doing swell, kid. Just keep up the good work. Like the coach says, no pain, no gain. And don't worry, we'll make sure to send a glowing report to the folks. A+. Now fry that geisha right where it counts. Attaboy." Joblard always knew when the kid was about to puke. The other side of the two-way partition would be nothing but smoke, while a vent Bloodhorn had secretly installed wafted the scent of T-bones sizzling on a grill. The kid's face would turn the pallor of herring gut, and he'd let spray at the console. It worked every time. Would never want so much as to sniff at a side of steak for the remainder of his days. Just like with the weasel. Joblard knew he only had to hold the skinny bastard down long enough and get a jumper lead on the end of a spark plug, and the little runt would spill his guts. Though he hadn't expected the weasel to actually puke all over his front tire. As a thank you for being so cooperative, Joblard fed the dazed stoolie half his stash of weed and used the rest to wipe down the retread on his second-hand Pirelli. The weasel gagged, eyes coming frantically back into focus. "I don't advocate the stuff personally," Joblard deadpanned, "but it beats bangers and mash for cholesterol, and that's got to be a plus, wouldn't you say?" "Can be," the weasel sputtered, grass in his teeth, hands worrying the boot that even then exerted a slight downward pressure on the hollow of his diaphragm. "The lobster smack, down by the jetty. Jesus, I can't breathe." "Why the fuck should I believe you?" "UFO." The weasel was shivering, lying in a puddle of oil slick in his own vomit, a fine drizzle giving his face a glassy look like a beaded pint glass on a hot day. "I can't hear you. What do you say?" "UFO. He said there was a UFO, gone right bonkers, says they're after him." "Who?" "You're choking me." "Who?" Easing off with the boot. "Shit, how the hell should I know? Martians, whoever. The bastard's flipped. You find him asking yourself, fucking psychopath. And you tell your boss I ain't doing any more favors neither." "I just might do that. This, my friend, could very well be your lucky day." The proverbial unidentified flying object wasn't something Joblard had strongly formed opinions about. The world was indeed a strange place, and who knew what funny goings-on happened out there. But coming from the weasel, it sounded just kooky enough to be true. After a couple of phone calls to check on facts, Joblard kicked his bike into gear and headed due east out of the Ace and under the viaduct towards the Docklands and the mythical Thames Delta, home of the petrodollar blues. The Lobster Smack was the western end of the island, a quaint old bit of Dickens, white clapboard in the lee of the flood wall, not at all where Joblard would have expected to find Johnny Fluoride on the lam from flying saucers. But seeing as how Mr. Fluoride led a double life as a tour guide for obscure 70s pub band groupies, they could have been less likely places. Joblard's contact of the big issue was to be thanked for handing in that little gem. Under a dozen different names, Nicky Conn wrote most of the big issue's music reviews. When Joblard had called, he was in the middle of firing one off on the forthcoming comeback tour by Ozrock might have been Bruce Welly. As serendipity would have it, Welly's first gig was scheduled for that very night at the Labworth Cafe on Canby. Joblard considered dropping by if all went well and Johnny Fluoride didn't play too hard to get. Nicky Conn had only good things to say. The band's great. If you like things low-key, I mean, Welly's so bloody low-key, he's not even under the radar, he's under a fucking rock. But it's some rock chum. As for the sightseeing tours, Joblard couldn't make it out. Nicky Conn filled him in. They come all the way from Belgrade, Perth, Singapore, just to breathe the same air. Dr. Feelgood groupies, like it's hallowed ground, all these leather jacket types, old guys. You had to have lived it to know what it means. Yeah, right. Like Canby was ever the centre of anything unless it was a V2 falling short of its target. Not that he'd hold it against them. He was sure the people there were very nice people. Joblard wheeled up to the Lobster Smack in time for the lunchtime special, pilchards with shepherd's pie. It came, the chalkboard in the window said, with chips, salad, or cooked vegetables. The connotations of the word cooked boggled the mind. Inside, the place was mostly empty. There was the usual briny smell of beer-soaked carpet that signalled to the uninitiated that this was indeed an establishment in which a drop spilled was not a drop wasted. The barman was busy sharing a yarn with a punter on a stool, whose attention was divided between an empty whiskey glass and a bowl of nuts, probably left out free by the management so the patrons didn't starve to death between rounds. The punter's army surplus anorak looked familiar. Unsurprising, considering half of London wore them. But this one was especially familiar. Joblard moved in beside its wearer and waited for the barman to wrap up his spiel. See, there was this Irish, owned a hardware shop over by Ben Fleet, Hilty's, specialised in nails. Business was no good because of the recession. One night he comes in here, drowning his sorrows, and there's this Channel 4 type sitting at the bar and wants to start a conversation. So Hildy lays it out for him, the whole sob story from start to finish. The TV knob laps it up, tells Hildy how it's his lucky day, him being an untold marketing whiz kid and all. And right there and then he offers to run up an ad campaign for Hildy's nails that'll really put the old man on the map, guaranteed, or it's free. The barman paused, gave Joblard a sly wink. With you there in a second, son. Then he went on with his yarn. Your Irish, of course, didn't think any more about it. The whiz kid was just another lush on a bar stool, and the banks had him by the short and curlies. Just a matter of time before the repo men started knocking at the door. Well, lowering his voice for dramatic effect, leaning in close to the punter in the anorak, Hilty's up watching the telly with the missus a few nights later. What does he see? The ad break comes up, and there's Jesus Christ himself being put on the cross. Crown of thorns and all, baking in the sun, eyes turned up to heaven, a couple of Romans down below congratulating themselves on superior workmanship. Up comes the sales pitch. Use Hilty's nails. The barman looked over at Joblard again. Pint, is it? Joblard nodded. The punter in the anorak kept stim, fidgeting with his glass. The barman set down an ale and Joblard shuffled some change across the counter. The punter in the anorak stared morosely at the full pint as if it represented 7 years of bad luck, or worse luck. He wasn't far wrong. The stuff tasted like degreaser someone else had put to good use. The brand on the tap was something unpronounceable. That's the problem with this country, he thought. You can't get an honest pint the way you used to. Give me a Fuller's any day. Well, Hilty was in a real fix, the barman cut in, polishing the taps with a dish rag. Get straight on a blow to the whiz kid. Mary and Joseph, he screams. You've ruined me. I'm done for. May as well go and hang myself now as wait for the lynch mob to come and do it for me. The whiz kid, meanwhile, has already had himself another brainwave. Listen, he says, take it easy. We'll fix it, promise. We'll get another ad up tomorrow. Right as rain. Never fear. Old Hildy's beside himself. The missus tries to calm him down. Can't hurt to try, she says. Always the pragmatist to rock in the storm-tossed sea. Anorak took a dry sip from his empty tumbler, winced, set the tumbler down in defeat, both elbows on the bar, head sagging between shoulder blades, chin barely an inch above the rim of his glass. Joblard shook his head. It was a sorry sight to see a hard-working man like Johnny Fluoride so down in the dumps. He'll cheer up pretty shortish once he realizes who he's got for company. Joblard cast a glance around the rest of the bar. No sign of aliens, just the odd couple, just the odd escapee from the local bingo parlour warming themselves over thimbles of sherry. So there's Hilty, next evening, says the barman, over at the Admiral, watching the Tri-Nations on the box when they stop for a commercial break. Poor old bastard can't believe his eyes. Up there on the screen is Jesus Christ in person running down the hillside at Calvary, with a mob of angry locals hot on his heels, and in big letters where everyone can see. They should have used Hildy's